Hello, good afternoon, everyone. And for those who are watching us live from a different time zone, good morning or good evening. My name is Marilyn. I am the CEO and founder of Customized Training Solutions Private Limited, and we brand ourselves as Asia's most trusted training and business solutions partner. We are all about connecting people, knowledge, and opportunities for organizational success. And we create meaningful learning experiences, executive communities, strategic conversations, and business connections that drive growth and transformation. And today we're here on the second out of three for the series of Executive Reset, leading from a more grounded place. And today's conversation will be about when success stops feeling like you, reinvention, and congruent change. So, our guest for today is Jovan Medrano. He's an ICF Professional Certified Coach who helps leaders and professionals bridge the gap between what they already know and how they actually lead and live, turning insights into lasting transformation. He's also the creator of Irrevocable Truth Framework and passionate about helping people lead with clarity, authenticity, quiet confidence. Without so much further ado, I'd like to invite Jovan. Hi, Jovan. Would you like to
Hi,
add anything
Marianne.
from your introduction?
No, that thank you so much for inviting me and having this conversation. I think the only thing that I want to highlight out of that is as a as a coach. I think I'm an entrepreneur by heart, and that's how we met, right? Like through
Exactly.
business, and I got into business because, like what you said, I'm very passionate about helping people. And in 2019, when right before COVID, when there was this shift in uh, me from running small businesses into like, asking myself, like, what do I really want to do? And that's when I really fully committed into coaching. So I've been learning and coaching since then, since 2019, since 2020. And it's a work that I really really love. Seeing people get those transformations, those aha moments. I think those are the things that I really really love.
Thank you for that. I think I cannot hear that well your microphone. There are times that I'm losing. I think you're losing connection to the microphone. I'm not sure why. But anyway, let's get started, and I will start to ask you with my question. Hopefully, our audience um, can hear us really well. Give us in the comment if you're joining us together. What's your takeaway? If you have any additional questions on top of the questions I would ask Jovan, and if there's anything else that you'd like to bring into this conversation. And thank you so much, Adam, for giving us the love, as well as John Paul Polo. Yeah, thank you so much for joining us live today. And so let's get started. I just want to ask from you because from our title, right? And that's really true. Many leaders and founders look so successful from the outside, yet internally sometimes they feel off. So how do people recognize the moment when success no longer feels like them anymore? Oh, that's a really interesting question.
Yes, and it's a great question, and I can't believe we're starting with that question. But thanks for asking that. I think this has been happening for a very very long time already. Yeah. But now I think it's more, I would say, prevalent because of social media. Like we can
Mm-hmm.
see a lot of people. Oh wow, they're successful in whatever measure that is. Like oh, they're rich or they're very famous, etc. And we think that they that's it. They have it done. They're so happy, etc. Right? But then when you actually look behind the scenes, behind the camera, then you will actually see what's really happening. Of course, not all of them are like that, but there are like that, and I think it projects a different picture to the people who are following them, who are watching them on the screen. But answering your question, so the key there is how do you recognize the
Mm-hmm.
moment. And recognize is a very very interesting word, right? Because it's really looking at the past, and some people might have an experience, or maybe some haven't. But overall, I think it's about awareness. In coaching, this is, I would say, the key ingredient in coaching. It's like when we cook, right? When we want to cook, for example, a chicken dish,
Mm-hmm.
then the key ingredient is the chicken. You cannot have a chicken dish without the chicken, right? And in coaching and in personal development, awareness is that key ingredient. So without that, then it's very very challenging, right? So you someone might be here watching live, or maybe they've stumbled in this content in the future, and uh, and it's because they notice something that is different, or something has changed in themselves, and so this awareness will be the one that will help it. Without this, of course, there's no way that they can change, right? So anyway, so how do they feel this, right? And I think, since they already have the awareness because they're here, what I can do is validate what they're feeling. And the first one, I would say, the biggest sign, and I've experienced this as well. uh, They might have noticed that there's a difference in their energy, right? They're less happy, less excited. They're dreading, the next meeting that they're attending. They're not motivated, all these things. And then when it comes to the body, maybe they feel so tight, stressed, unable to sleep, or maybe they stress eating. Different people will have different behaviors, of course. Or I know people who drink a lot of coffee, for example, 5 cups of coffee, and it's just the morning, right? Like those kind of things. Of course, visually, you can imagine they don't look bright, or they feel different, like from other people. So those are the signs that they can look at. Uh, like, even if they are hitting their KPIs, their objectives, their goals in life, but you feel that it's not them anymore.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing with us. And again, it feels you can feel that when when something is not right anymore, as we say. And again, it starts with, as you mentioned, uh, awareness, and you can actually validate that through how you feel,
Yeah.
whether it's in your body, the emotions, and even like the energy is different uh, when to recognize that moment that the success doesn't feel like them anymore, right? So
And
thank you so much.
what's interesting is that um it first starts as a subtle thing. Like, you don't recognize, like, there's something that feels different, feels not so good. And because you don't have the awareness yet, right? So it
Mm-hmm.
continues and continues, and it becomes more engrossed, like it becomes stronger, the, the feeling. And then it will come a point that you will really, the God or the universe will really do something about you, do something to you, in order for you to have that change that you need. So I think that is a very interesting thing as well. But it's a big thing that we can discuss sometimes. Sometimes.
Right, right. So a lot of people also often like they work as high achievers. Like you've mentioned, sometimes in your answer earlier, sometimes the success is still there, right? They're still high achievers, and but but how who are they still like thinking, analyzing, and carrying expectation, right? So how do overthinking, inherited beliefs, or people pleasing quietly keep people stuck even when they know they want the change?
Mm. Uh, so those are just example. Of course, there are other examples of non-productive patterns.
Mm-hmm.
So let me discuss very quickly like each one of those. So overthinking to me. By the way, do you drive, Marilyn?
Sorry.
Do you drive?
Yes, I used to drive.
Do you drive a manual or automatic?
Manual.
Manual. Okay, so of course there's a lot of people there who drives automatic as well, but it's the same. So to me, driving, overthinking is like driving, and then when you step on the gas and the brake
Mm-hmm.
at the same time.
Okay.
So what
That's
happens when you
really
do that,
difficult.
right? Like there's so much going on. Like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
you wanna move and you wanna stop at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But ultimately, what happens is that the car doesn't move,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And what's interesting is even if you are a passenger in the car that Marilyn is driving, and she stepped on the gas and the brakes at the same time, you won't know it. You will just
Okay.
feel some kind of jerk at the car, and then you will
Mm-hmm.
notice that the car is not moving,
Mm-hmm.
but you won't notice it. So it's very similar to overthinking. Like no one actually sees that you're overthinking. It's just you. But what happens, the result of that is that you actually don't move because you're just in your head. So that is
Okay.
overthinking to me, right? Inherited beliefs, I think is very interesting, and the word there, the interesting word there is inherited. It's something that you've gotten from someone else or things like in the past. And
Mm-hmm.
to me, I call this the hidden referee, and it's something like when you do something and then suddenly this referee with a whistle will come up and stop, right? And suddenly you'll be shocked, and if you can imagine, like when we were young, well, at least I was like that, right? I'm very naughty, and I like picking up things or yeah, doing stuff, and I would suddenly hear either my mom or my dad would just call me out, like "Psst, psst, stop," right? And that's an example of an inherited belief, and we now that we are adults, like we want to do something, but something
Mm-hmm.
inside, belief is a program. It's just like coming out and then stop, stop, don't do that. So that's what happens when we have those inherited. People pleasing, I think, is quite easy because this is quite common, and people would have heard of that already. And it's basically it's like um, trying to live up to someone else's expectation. Right? Mostly it's like that. But I think what's another side of this complex part of this, and this is something that I also struggled with, is because I love helping people, right? We mentioned that in the introduction. And when you love helping people, sometimes that becomes the top priority instead of like myself. And there's nothing wrong with kind of like helping other people, right? Like, but then when it becomes more about them and less about me, then uh, then it becomes detrimental to my own mental health or own well-being, right? And so I wanted to add that because yeah, I think that's quite important to understand as well. But to answer the question, so now that you understand all these things, by the way, overthinking and people pleasing are behaviors. You had Adam as a guest last week, So
Mm-hmm.
in NLP, we try to understand, like, what's happening in the mind, in the body, the unconscious mind, and behaviors are a great way to do that. Like they are access because you can immediately notice them, right? Like you can see someone who's overthinking might be like just stuck there and then just remunerate. Yeah, and people pleasing, you can also notice that. But inherited beliefs is something that's more innate, like inside, you cannot see. So anyway, like when a leader has all this, these types of pattern, and they they stuck they are stuck, and even though they want to move forward and they want to change, basically it's telling you the reason that that is happening is because they are, all these patterns, it's convincing them to stay stuck because it's safer. It's
Mm-hmm.
safe. Ultimately, like if we boil it down to the essence of it, it's just basically it's safe. And if it's safe, then they won't actually move an inch or move forward, to the unknown normally.
Wow, that's very interesting because it's really so much around the subconscious level of
Yes.
thinking. I would say, like if people are aware of the subconscious, and again, it's really like I'd say like from at least from my perspective, it's more difficult to address
Mm.
because it's because it's like innate in us, like
Yeah.
as you've mentioned earlier, the example around like inherited belief, right? So which is very interesting and also kind of like more difficult to address as well. And a lot of people actually think that more thinking creates more clarity, but sometimes it creates more noise as well. So, how do leaders move from constant mental spinning towards cleaner and more courageous decisions?
Yeah, this is a great question. I think this is the part where I wanna like paint a picture of how we how we approach this as a coach,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I you're totally right. Like, and this is something that I think people also struggle with, is
Mm-hmm.
that they think that more thinking will
Mm-hmm.
actually help, right? So that's where the constant mental spinning, and to me that looks like the hamster wheel.
Mm-hmm.
The hamster just keeps on running on the wheel, but it's actually not moving, right? But it becomes
Mm-hmm.
very, very tired. So that's the constant mental spinning. And in coaching, we start off with the client, what we call
Mm-hmm.
point A. So the
Mm-hmm.
client is in point A, like where they are right now, whatever they're experiencing, the problems, the challenges that they have, or maybe they don't have any problem, but it's just like wherever they are, right? Like, so that's
Mm-hmm.
point. And in this case, it's the hamster wheel. And then they want to go somewhere. They want to be someone. They want to achieve something. And so
Mm-hmm.
that is point B. Right? So you have the point A and then the point B. And here, in your question, they want to be able to have a clearer and
Mm-hmm.
what do you say, courageous
Mm-hmm.
decision.
Decisions, yes.
Yeah. So now the question is, like, how do you get from point A to point B? And this is where, as coaches,
Mm-hmm.
we build a bridge with them. This we help these leaders uh, name, like, what is really the decision that you want to make in order to get here. And then we work with them. We put on their thoughts on the table, like, spread it out so that they can see everything, and this helps with the awareness part.
Mm-hmm.
And then based on that, we reconnect them to what actually is really important to them, what matters to them. Yeah. And
Okay.
then from there, okay, now that you are clearer, how do you want to, like, now move forward in really palatable small steps that it's easy for you to do and execute. So I think that is where we start in coaching, like painting this picture of point A, point B, the bridge,
Mhm.
and working on that, and then it's up to them to take those small steps. We as coaches, we cannot do that for them. It's still up to them. And then of course, then treating that as experiments, like they do it, and then they get some feedback, and then we work on that again. So so now every leader will have a different circumstance in life.
Right,
And
right.
so, but going through that process, that structure, then breaking down whatever is happening to them will already help them create that awareness and taking that action.
Exactly, exactly. So that's great because at least, sometimes like what we said, right? We don't know our blind spot as well.
Yes.
Going back to the driving we were discussing, that's why there's like more mirrors, side mirrors, and the one in front,
Correct. Correct.
because there are always blind spots, right? And that's where coaches like you helps in trying to point out like which one, wh- and bridging that gap between where they are and where they want to go, which is very interesting because in my introduction earlier I've mentioned about the framework that you have created, which is the Irrevocable Truth Framework. So in simple everyday language, how can leaders identify what is deeply true for them and use that as a guide for decisions and direction?
Mm. The I love that the question you ask is like, making it simpler, and I think that is important. But some because the framework itself,
Mm-hmm.
some people might be listening here. It's like, wow, irrevocable. Like, wow, what, like, it's not a common word that people use. But the story is, I was looking for a word that will really capture what I personally experienced.
Mm-hmm.
And I created this because I got this myself. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I get myself coached as well, and I do, coach myself, um, as well. And through those many process, there was this one experience which was late last year that I I kind of like got that aha moment that I was talking about earlier,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a heavy realization.
Mm-hmm.
It's like something really got, I would say, triggered or squished inside me, and it's kind of like, when I experienced it, when I saw that, what I really felt is like, oh, there's no going back now. You know, when I saw that, it's like, ooh, wow, that's true. That's very, very true. Like, that's the exact voice that I heard in my head, and it's very similar to when I learned uh, how to bike when I was very young. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
after like, when I think we see this in the movies as well. When we start learning the bike, someone holds the seat
Mm-hmm.
for us, and then we kind of wiggle, then we fall, and then we go back on the bike, and then try again, and then suddenly, kind of like, ooh, you found the balance, and then you just continue to cycle.
Mm-hmm.
And it felt like that. Like, now I can, like, even for many many years I haven't cycled, and then I get on a bike, I know how to do it. Like, there's no question, no doubt in my head that I won't be able to do it, right? Like, I know I can. So it's something similar, like what I experienced, and that's when I became super curious in naming that exact process that happened
Mm-hmm.
to me. and that's how I created the irrevocable truth framework. And this framework is basically just what is we were talking about something innate in us, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
something innate that is non-negotiable.
Mm-hmm.
Something that is deeply true for you about how you want to live, how you want to lead your life. But the interesting thing is that when you discover this, it may feel like it's a bit inconvenient or hard,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because you might not be used to it. So yeah, great examples of this so that it's easier for people to understand. Um, and this is like in Philippines, like I think very appropriate. Integrity over success.
Mm-hmm.
Like some people want to like, oh, I become successful, but they do it in moral ways or illegal ways, stuff like that. So how can you be more in integrity and be successful? So those kind of things, health over hustle. I also am guilty of this. Taking care of health more. Versus like just always go 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 and taking action, like and pushing myself. And I think that's why we also thought about that retreat that we want to do for leaders, because a lot of leaders have been doing it like that, like
Mm-hmm.
especially like the older generation, work 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 work,
Mm-hmm.
in order to achieve what I want, and they have forgotten their their health, their not only their physical health but their mental health as well. So I think that's where this comes in as well. Yeah, or like meaning, doing something that is more meaningful than
Mm-hmm.
looking good, for example. Yeah, so those are the things.
Thank you. Thank you for explaining that to us. So, for you, it's really something like getting that awareness and doing it anyway.
Mm,
Until it becomes innate in you, right?
yeah.
Same as like what when you drive or when you cycle, as per your example. And I missed to actually share a comment from Adam earlier. So again, which you also mentioned just now about getting out of your comfort zone and being comfortable in the uncomfortable, which me
Mm,
and this means change is happening and experimented with repetition, and the change becomes the new now. And this is also like very close to what you just explained earlier about the cycling and you know making it really like innate in you, right?
yeah.
So, yeah, thank you so much for explaining that to us on an everyday language. And Adam said, "Well said, Jovan." So, if there's anyone else joining us today, feel free to ask your question, or even if you're watching on a replay, do share with us if you have any questions or any aha moments from this conversation. So, and that leads me to the final question. So, there's a difference between change that comes from pressure and change that comes from alignment. And what does congruent change actually look and feel like in real life?
Mm. Um, I think part of the the irrevocable truth framework that
Mm-hmm.
I formulated is going through and trusting our body again.
Mm-hmm.
I think especially our era or our generation right now, we
Mm-hmm.
have relied a lot in our brain, and
Mm-hmm.
there's nothing wrong. I mean, we've achieved so much by doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Like everything that has been invented, things that have been built, it's all through like the power of our brain, our
Mm-hmm.
mind. But somewhere there in that process, we have forgotten intelligence and the power of our body.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's one of the biggest realizations that I had personally as well when I went and I kind of experienced that aha moment. And then the truth actually lives inside our body. And when I say the body, it
Mm-hmm.
includes everything. It includes our mind and the brain itself, the logical mind, and then the unconscious mind that we were talking about as well. And I think that is something that when we increase our level of awareness, it's something that we will be amazed like how powerful it is as well. And so when we want to experience a congruent change, it just doesn't seem like it's right, but it feels right mm, all over your body. It's like it's I'm sure some of our listeners here, some of the people who watch have experienced this at least once in their life,
Mm-hmm.
wherein like it's just like like this is life, or they probably have said that, or oh, wow, they feel so happy and excited, they're jumping for joy, something that has happened in their life, or they met their love of their life, and like those kind of experiences. And that's what I'm talking about when you experience the congruent change, that shift. You feel it in your body, not just think that is this is the right, think, oh, I'm going in the right direction, or this is who I need to be, right? And it feels good in your body, your energy is up. And it's the same for the opposite. Like we talked about that, right? Like when you don't like what you're doing already in your job,
Mm-hmm.
then it doesn't feel good in your body. And people kind of like know this, but it's very difficult for them to accept. Right? So yeah, so when you experience a congruent change, it just feels so good.
That's very interesting. And again, it's all about entrusting our body, right? And yeah, that's true. A lot of times, like people would forget about the power of the body. They always like look into the uh, logical explanation of
Yeah.
everything, and don't realize that how we feel and what our heart actually says is the truth to everything.
And
Right,
it's not like bypassing our brain. It's
exactly.
taking into all account everything, right? Aligning it
Hmm.
all.
The mind, body, and
Yeah.
soul, right? So making sure that there's a balance of all these three when
Correct.
we actually make our decisions or go through life, right? So that's very interesting. And I think what would I leave to our audience is if someone strip away your title, achievements, and other people's expectation, would the life you've built still feel like yours, right? So
Mm.
I think that's a great question for our audience to reflect on after this question and answer.
Yeah, great answer.
um yeah. And if this for our audience, if this is exactly the kind of work you need, you can email Jovan Medrano at gmail.com to explore whether the Bali Executive Reset cohort is a fit for you. This is what you've also mentioned earlier. And we're also sharing here the link to the Bali Thrive Beyond Limits. And would you like to share anything more about it, Jovan, before
Yeah,
we wrap?
thanks for letting me share about it. It's a retreat that we have really been dreaming about, and
Mm-hmm.
it's something that we want to provide to, like what I talked about, those leaders who have been programmed to just kind of like work, work, work. We call this redlining, meaning they're pushing themselves to the
Mm-hmm.
limit, and it's
Mm-hmm.
because this is what they've been told, that their inherent beliefs, that sorry, inherited. and they have forgotten to take care of themselves. They've forgotten how it's like to go back to themselves
Mm-hmm.
past. So they've gotten used to it. And so we want to create this space, this retreat for them to not only learn how to go back to themselves, take care of themselves again, but at the same time allow for their body to breathe. I think that's important. So we're going to be taking care of their mind, taking care of their body, and then at the same time also provide support for them after the retreat.
Mm-hmm.
So I think a lot of retreats, just happen in those like 3 days, 4 days, or 7 days, right? But for this one, there will be a support, so that they can, we can monitor them, continue get them coached all throughout. And yeah, like we're so excited for this. We're preparing a lot of, we want the participants' experiences to be unforgettable, basically. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's what we're preparing. So it will be in Bali in a private villa, and it will be in September. September 20 to 26. They can go to the website and then see all the details there. But yeah, it will be just a small group. We want this to be intimate, and really can focus on each other and helping each other.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And again, for those who are watching and leaders, high performing leaders who are looking into sustaining their energy and ensuring that, they are in alignment, which will also be our next session for next week, right? Which is resetting your system, mind, body, and how you lead. So thank you so much, Jovan, for your time today and for all the insights that you have shared with us. And I look forward to next week's session with you and Adam.
Mm.
And yeah, looking forward to that very, very exciting um, Bali retreat for leaders, high performing leaders. Thank you so much, Jovan, and thank you so much for all our audience. Yeah,
Thank you, everyone.
thank you. Bye for now.